This conference will now be recorded.
So I guess I should first say that we do record these conferences, and that's so you can listen to them later on our YouTube channel or sign up for our blog at AnCan.org. Maybe Jake will put the URL in for the blog, and you can sign up there, and then you get a notice when it's been posted to the YouTube channel, and you can re-listen to the call. So just to repeat what I said before, Jake, so nobody reminded me that I do need to record, is that we're going to do something a little different. We're going to start off today talking about the role of estrogen in prostate cancer. I've asked Herb and Len to contribute to that. It follows up on some correspondence with Dr. Mark, and we're not quite sure how what's the word I want? Reliable the original correspondence was, but it got us into talking a little bit about estrogen. I think it's an important topic. We don't often talk about it. And on that same subject, Herb asked who listened to the PCF conference last weekend. I listened to it, but I don't know how much I took in because it was all a little over my head. And probably other than Len and Herb, I don't know who else got a lot out of it, but I think there was some important stuff. So I've asked Herb and Len if they could, but for next Monday, next Monday, give us a short presentation. We will start on time for that, meaning if you join us anytime after 5, we'll already have started talking about it. So you're going to have to be on time, or you can listen to the recording. But basically, we're going to use the time that we usually gather to talk about last week's PCF conference. Okay, that said, Herb, I'm going to turn it over to you, and maybe you can just give these gents, including me, a quick primer on the role of estrogen in prostate cancer.
You're muted.
Not yet.
Yeah, this is Tony. I can't hear you.
Yeah, well, that's because he's not saying. That's because his mic's off, Tony. So relax. He'll be there.
I lost my audio connection, so I assume Rick introduced the topic. Len, were you going to go first, or should I just say what I think?
No, I wasn't going to contribute to this discussion. Only the PCF retreat. So it's all you.
Okay. So we were forwarded a screed by some ostensible researcher from Dr. Mark that asserted that it's not testosterone, it's estrogen that's responsible for the progression of prostate cancer. And based on that, I sort of did a literature search on what's known about the role of estrogen. And, I think the one thing we should all realize is that estrogen is made from testosterone through a series of enzymes, a reductase and an aromatase turn testosterone into estrogen. So all the drugs that we're taking in terms of ADT block both. So it's hard to really separate out a specific role for estrogen. But in the experiments where they've tried to block estrogen only, there's really been no evidence that it has any effect. Mark, I think you want me to start over?
No, I think Dr. Mark knows enough that
So,
yeah, you only missed about
in my reading of the literature, estrogen has a role in certain, bone strength and other aspects, but there's no evidence that it really pushes the progression of prostate cancer. So I would argue that there are people using estrogen, and the reason they use estrogen is because it suppresses testosterone through the hypothalamic pituitary axis. So basically, they're using estrogen as essentially ADT. But estrogen has a lot of untoward side effects, including growing breasts, cardiovascular disease. So my take on it is that in current knowledge, there's no data that shows that it's really involved in the progression of prostate cancer.
Can I comment?
You
Sure.
may.
Okay, so first of all, the way I've read all those papers and thank you for sharing them. I think they're very interesting. For the issue, I agree entirely about the hormone suppressing hypothalamic axis. We're doing that with Lupron, and if we go the Abiraterone route, taking estrogen is certainly not going to have any benefit. What I've been sensing from this, and it's interesting also that there's an analogous Skene's gland cancer in women, but it's the effect of estrogen is modulated directly through an estrogen receptor, which is in the tissue. And the two issues that come about are one, progression of the disease. And I agree that there's not any evidence that's worth hanging our hat on that giving estrogen working through an estrogen receptor is going to change progression. The interesting hypothesis, and there is some data, but certainly not any that would direct us on any kind of clinical thinking, is that it may induce metastatic or promote metastatic changes. We know that in metastasis, the genetics is different and the receptors are different. So I think we're 5 to 10 years away from really knowing whether there's a role. And I think when it comes to the point of making some decisions about this, we're going to have to be looking at each person's individual genetic makeup to see what hormone milieu is going to best suit them, both from the standpoint of stopping progression, but translating from a castration resistance after a period of time with suppression. I certainly agree that the idea of using estrogen as a treatment now just doesn't make sense based on the data and this total absence of clinical trials.
Okay.
I mean, again, I'm not sure I have seen data which show that any genetics of estrogen receptors affects metastases. So again, that's based on what's been published, Mark. I'm not it's a speculation. It's not, I don't think you'd have to, I don't even know how I design an experiment. You're muted.
That's a problem with prostate cancer in general. There's so many variables that go into it. There are so many treatments. There's so many approaches that there really isn't a one size fits all. So what I take on that is it's time to go back into the lab and figure out are there a genetic potential, and in certain cell lines, what happens with it before you even consider moving to any kind of clinical trials.
So anybody we could spend a lot of time talking about this, but we got to get on to business here. Is there anybody that would like to ask a question, has a thought? We'll take maximum another 5 minutes on this. Anyone else want to follow up, or are we ready to get to our new gent for the day?
I just want to make sure I understood what was said from a summary standpoint. It sounds like all the wisdom that's told us to use estrogen in the past is questionable.
No, because estrogen was used in the past to suppress testosterone, right? That's DES was used because it does that. And so by suppressing testosterone, you're doing what ADT does. But better drugs and better ways to do it have come along.
Oh, in other words, depressing the testosterone is good, but there's several ways to do it.
Correct.
Several better ways. Okay.
Right. There may be better ways, but what started this all off is that somebody suggested, a scientist out of my alma mater, I'm ashamed to say, suggests that estrogen fuels prostate cancer. And these guys, our brains trust here, Herb and Mark and Len, all agree that that is not the case. So if you're using an how am I supposed to say it, Len? How am I supposed to say it?
You could just say DES.
Yeah,
Okay.
DES.
If you're using an estradiol patch, don't worry. For some people it works. We know at least two people for whom it's worked. It's worked. It may not be the best, but some people prefer it.
Okay, so I should point out that there's a new arm of the Stampede trial where it is ADT plus an estradiol patch.
Oh, wow.
So I think that's the, I mean, reading what I could, there isn't a whole lot to read about RML, but it basically said that they were looking at it mostly for bone health and that the estradiol patch was going to give you a low level of estrogen that perhaps could be more protective of bones.
Okay.
Herb, doesn't it also mitigate hot flashes?
Yes, yes, it mitigates hot flashes as well.
Okay.
Hey, this is Tony. Is there any way I can ask?
But it does
a
have
question?
cardiovascular effects.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Okay.
Sure.
Boy, this is a revelation. I'll just make it quick. Man, you guys are advanced for me. But anyhow, I'm being treated for
Hold on a minute, Tony. Hold on a minute. We will get to you. Okay, don't worry. We know you're there.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to wrap up this. We're going to wrap up this estrogen discussion. If there are any further questions you want to see, John, did you want to ask a question?
Just a quickie. Do you know if they're recruiting for that trial, Herb? Stampede trial with the arm you mentioned?
Well, I think it's all in Britain.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Stampede is a British trial, so I don't think we can get into it anyway.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Mark, hold on to that question. If it doesn't get answered, we'll get to you with it when we get around everybody. It's a question that deserves some recognition. We lost one new man, but our other new man is raring to go here. So Tony, tell us a little bit about where you are, how you've been treated, who's been treating you, and what questions you have for us. And we'll let the guys chime in after you're done.
Fantastic. And I really appreciate this, a gift from God, because this is just a miracle that this is the first time I was able to talk to a support group for what I've been going through. So I'll try to be specific and not waste anybody's time. Okay. 2 years ago, I'm in Ohio.
Here they are.
I'm in Ohio, and I get treated at the Paramedic Cancer Center in Steubenville, Ohio. Now, the bottom line is this here. I got diagnosed with prostate cancer stage 4. That eventually, and the same time they told me that, they said it also spread to your bones. But they said, don't worry, we're going to help you. Okay. I'm 68 years old, by the way, too. Okay. So they put me on the Lupron. And they said, we'll give you the first shot here in Pittsburgh. And since you live near the Paramedic Cancer Center, you can start getting your therapy through them. So, because my PSA, when they diagnosed it, was at 20, and it was bad. But anyhow, I have faith. But anyhow, now can you all still hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So anyhow, the bottom line is, I've been taking a Lupron shot. I never even knew that estrogen suppresses testosterone. I thought it was the Lupron. But anyhow, the bottom line is this here. I've been taking a shot every 3 months of the Lupron. And when I first started on the Lupron, they also put me on Casedex, which was a 50 milligram tablet. Okay, so my PSA has went from, I just had a PSA done 2 weeks ago, and it's a 1.9, and that's a miracle, because it's constantly has come down for this whole past 2 years. But I've been hearing but the side effects are really bad with this Lupron. I mean, I got everything from lethargy, insomnia, putting on weight, and then it also, I'm glad you guys mentioned that it gets into the bones, and it causes your bones to get brittle and thin. But they also give me a shot for that when they give me the shot for the Lupron. And for the darn of me, I can't think of the name of this shot, but it's for your.
Exgiva.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. So anyhow, the only thing what I was saying, I don't know if you guys, I feel like I'm talking to doctors. What it is the bottom line is, okay, I got my shot coming up on Thursday. And like I said, I haven't missed a shot in 2 years, every 3 months. So the question that I wanted to ask is, how do you guys feel about, and I just told you my PSA was very low. I mean, a 1.9. I just got it yesterday. They told me. So what I'm trying to say is, how do you guys feel about skipping a shot for 3 months so that your body can try to recoup from the side effects of the Lupron so you can start feeling normal again? Now, I know there's a lot of pro and con on intermittent therapy, and I know the bottom line is I'm above ground and I'm alive because, of course, all you guys know when you get that diagnosis of prostate cancer stage 4 and it's spread all through your bones. Plus, a year ago, I had a PET scan that showed no cancer through all my body, no red blotches. And then, so they're telling me that I'm in remission. But what I wanted to ask is, the way my oncologist, his nurse, explained it, because, she said, Tony, think of it this way. Your cancer is inside of a jar, because it was metastatic. I mean, it went through all. And she said, when you take the Lupron and the Casedex in the beginning, she said that's like keeping a lid on that jar where the cancer's, keeping the cancer inside that jar. And the way she explained it, she said,
Tony, let me interrupt you, because I think we've got a good handle on your situation. I'm not sure you're really going to want to hear what we're going to tell you, but we'll tell it you anyway. There are 23 guys on this call right now. Probably at least 20 of them are in or have been in a similar situation to you. So there's lots of guys who are very familiar with what's going on.
Okay.
There's a couple of things that I just want to tell you up front. We're not docs, so we can't give you advice, but we can talk to you from experience. And that's why I mentioned that we've got plenty of experience on here. That's the first.
Great. I appreciate it.
Okay. The second thing is that we've also got guys who have done intermittent therapy and have taken drug holidays, and a couple of guys who have done it well. The third thing is we've got some other guys from your area on this call, at least one other guy on this call. What I think we all want to say to you up front, and I'm going to turn this out to let people talk to you, is that 1.9 sadly is nowhere near as low as we'd like to see you. We'd like to see you at a testosterone level that's about a PSA level that's about 0.01. Have they ever measured your testosterone? Do you know what your testosterone level is?
Oh, yeah. Well, before the 1.9, it was like 0.02.
No, I'm talking about, so you're saying that your PSA has been down as low as 0.02. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. So it went all the way down to 0.02, but now it's come back up to 1.9. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. What about the testosterone in your body? Have they ever measured the testosterone?
They have not.
Okay. Well, they should be. And one of the things I think we would like to say to you, and we can probably give you some direction, is we got to move you to a doctor who specializes in prostate cancer. Because a lot of these general docs, they don't specialize in prostate cancer, and they don't have the knowledge that the prostate cancer docs have. And with that said, I'm wondering who would like to kick off with some thoughts for navigating Tony. Either Peter or Len, one of you two maybe to kick it off.
Peter, you want to start?
Sure. Tony, have you had any treatment? Have you had a surgery, prostatectomy, or any kind of radiation, or just the Lupron?
No,
Okay.
no. The reason why they put me on the Lupron is because it was all through my bones.
Yeah, I got it. So Lupron, and you took Casodex as well, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and that took you down, that lowered your PSA, but now it's creeping up again. How far are you from the Cleveland Clinic?
I'd say that's about a 3-hour drive.
Okay.
We have a good guy in Pittsburgh that Jim Barnes seems to be pretty happy with.
Yeah, Jim, are you familiar with where Tony's being treated?
He said he started his treatment in Pittsburgh, and he didn't say where. I'm being treated at the Hillman Cancer Center, and Dr. Len Appleman is my GU.
Well, what hospital is that?
That's UPMC, Shadyside Hillman Cancer Center.
Well, see, Terminator Cancer Center is affiliated with UPMC Hillman, and Dr. Rahman, who runs the Terminator Cancer Center in Steubenville, he drives from Pittsburgh every day to the Terminator Cancer Center.
Okay, but I think what we're saying to you is that your doctor, Dr. Rahman, may be a general oncologist, or is he an oncologist that specializes in prostate cancer?
Well, I don't know if he you know what, man, being treated there for 2 years, I don't know the answer to that.
Well, my guess is he's not, because they're usually, if you were diagnosed with metastatic prostate cancer throughout your bones, they would have started you, if he'd have been a specialist, they would have started you on more than just Lupron, even 2 years ago. They would have put you on chemotherapy immediately, or they would have given you another drug, something like bicalutamide, but a better, more modern drug, and you would still be on it. I don't want to confuse you with a bunch of names right now, but we can give them to you. But what I'm hearing is that you are getting community standard treatment, and you're not even getting the right community standard treatment, because that treatment today would include either chemotherapy or an additional drug.
Well, does the Casedex count as an extra drug?
Not really, because it's an old drug. It's always given when you start Lupron. How long were you on the Casedex for?
Oh, I was only on like for the first month or two, because they said it causes a Lupron usually causes a flare up when
That's
you
correct.
first go on it, so they give you the Casedex.
That's correct. But nowadays what they do is they give you a more modern version of Casedex, and they give it you all the time until they drive and keep your PSA level down at that 0.02 level. And if you've been there for several months, then maybe you can talk about a holiday.
Well, I've been there for 2 years. I've been there for 2 years.
Well, you haven't, because your PSA is at 1.9, you say.
No, but that was my last PSA. But every time they give me a shot of Lupron, they also take my PSA. And my PSA has been down to like 0.0.2 with the Lupron.
Right, but it should stay there. It shouldn't go back up. If it's going back up, you need more treatment, and you're not getting it.
Okay, so what would you, well, I know one thing right now, I'm going to forget about that intermittent therapy. I mean, forget about that. But here's what I don't understand.
Hold on a minute. Let me answer that and hold that thought and come back. You don't have to.
Okay.
You don't have to forget intermittent therapy. It may still be in your future, but now is not the time for it. Okay.
Okay.
It's not the right time and the right name and the right place right now. I'm just going to poll a couple of other guys, and then maybe we can give you some navigation.
Well, how do you know? How do you know if you're in remission? They did a PET scan about a year ago, and the PET scan, I'm sure you know what that is, where it shows up red blotches all over where there's cancer, and it was completely cancer-free.
Okay. I'm going to let Len hasn't really talked to you yet. I'm going to let Len answer that question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Tony, this is Len. So I want to add on to what Rick has already told you, which is that you are not getting modern standard of care, because if you were, you would have been put on more potent drugs than you're currently getting. And it probably would have kept your PSA under control. How long has it been from the time it took you to go from 0.02 to 1.9? Do you know?
Just from the last time I had a test, the last time I had a PSA test, it was like maybe 3 months ago.
And it was 1.9.
No, it's 1.9 just recently, like 2 days ago.
Okay, what was it 3 months ago?
It was like 0.021, extremely, extremely low.
So in 3 months, you went from 0.02 to 1.9.
Yeah.
So
Can I jump in and ask a quick question?
very
Are those
rapid.
tests at the same place?
Oh, well, I don't even think it's relevant so much, Herb, because that's such a huge leap.
Well, it's a huge leap, but you know,
Yeah. Do you get it tested at the same place, Tony?
Yes. But here's the thing I just wanted to mention. Why have they have never measured? They have never told me. How do they measure your testosterone with a blood test?
Yeah, blood test.
Well, they never told me what my testosterone level is for the whole 2 years I've been getting treated there.
Yeah, every time they take your PSA, they should be taking a testosterone level to make sure that the Lupron is keeping your testosterone under control.
Okay.
So what everybody here would agree with, I'm sure, is that you are probably not being treated by a prostate cancer specialist in oncology. He's probably a generalist in oncology, and there's no way that he can keep up with all of the rapid changes in the prostate cancer field. It changes several times a year. So your first order of business is to find, we call it a GU medical oncologist. They specialize in genitourinary oncology, and most of that practice is prostate cancer. So, yeah, someone in the chat box has suggested that we give us the spelling of your doctor's name so we can double check that he's not a GU oncologist.
His name is Dr. Mohammad Rahman, Rahmon.
Okay, if somebody wants to look that one up. And
all you got to do is look up Terramana Cancer Center in Steubenville, Ohio, and I'm sure his name will come up because he runs the whole place.
Okay.
Well, how do you spell Terramana Cancer Center?
Terramana. So that's Terramana. It's Terramana. Terramana.
Terramana. Okay, guys, go to it. Some of our guys are on the stick right now. But I think
I already found them.
Okay, hold on one second, Herb. I think we're starting to point you in the right direction. I think there's a number of issues here that would make us suspicious if he was our doctor. You haven't had your testosterone tested. You never got put on a secondary drug, which really you should have been, either chemotherapy or another type of hormone therapy pill. I'm saying there's a few other things that came to my mind and they've gone out of my mind. Let me ask you, did they ever do a biopsy, or did they tell you it wasn't worth doing?
No, they did a biopsy at the very beginning, but not there. They did a biopsy.
And what was your Gleason score in that biopsy?
You know what? I knew you was going to ask that. I can't remember. I mean, that's 2 years ago. That's September of 2018. I can't remember what the Gleason score was. But the question I have for you, and I really appreciate this, although you guys got me scared, man. The thing I was going to say is, because I feel great, but the thing I was going to tell you is this. So when I see Dr. Rahman this Thursday for my next Lupron shot, what should I say to him about? I mean, do I say, well, I don't know what I'm going to say to him, because you're telling me if he's not a specifically trained oncologist for advanced prostate cancer, then, I mean, do I say that that I shouldn't be seeing you anymore? And can you
Let's help you one by one. The first thing is you got to get the name of the disease right. It's prostate cancer, not prostrate.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay,
Oh.
you're saying prostrate, so it's prostate cancer. Because if you go in, you gotta maintain your own cred there. So that's important. Secondly,
Okay.
I would. Are you going in to see him? I think you said you're getting another Lupron shot. Is that right?
This Thursday, the 29th.
And when was the last time you had a Lupron shot?
3 months ago. I've been getting these every 3 months, and
Excellent.
I haven't missed one. I haven't missed one shot in 2 years.
Okay, I'm just checking, Tony. I just want to make sure that you didn't miss one out there, because that could cause the jump. But if you haven't missed one out, then I think. And have you seen him since your last shot, or this is the first time since you saw him 3 months ago?
This is the first time. I usually see him every time I get the shot.
Yeah. Okay, so
the thing I wanted to ask real quick is, oh, go ahead. Nah, I forgot. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. Keep a piece of paper there by your hand and write it down when it comes back to you. It'll come back to you. Here's what I suspect. He's going to be a surprise.
Can I just say one thing? Why did they tell me?
Hold on. No, you can't. Write it down, because we want to give you some advice, okay? And then you can come back and ask us. All right?
Okay, go ahead.
And write it down. Write down what you want to say, and then we'll handle it in a minute.
Okay, I got it.
Now, he's probably going to be as surprised as you are that you've gone from 0.02 to 1.9. And he's probably going to talk to you about additional treatment. That said, I would wait and see what he suggests to you. You don't say yes and you don't say no, but you can say maybe. All right? And then go get yourself a second opinion. And you want to get
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And let me finish. And you want to get a second opinion from Jim's doctor, whose name is Leonard Appelman, who's at Hillman. And see what he says and see how you like him. And see if he agrees. All right?
Now where is he at?
Hillman. He's at Hillman.
No, but what city? What?
In Pittsburgh.
Oh, in Pittsburgh.
Right. He's at Hillman Cancer Center in Pittsburgh.
Okay, and his last name is, let me write it down. What is it?
Appelman.
Appelman, got it.
Like apple, Appelman. And his first name is Leonard.
Okay.
Len to you, all right?
Okay.
And we want you to go and see him. And you can even say to him that one of his patients, Jim Barnes, suggested his name.
Jim Barnes.
And what we want to know is, first of all, does he agree with Dr. Rahman? Now, if your insurance covers it, we would say you're better off with a doctor like Appelman than you are with Rahman, because Rahman treats a whole bunch of different diseases. He doesn't specialize in prostate cancer. So
you already found that out?
Yes, well, I'm looking at it, and interestingly enough, it doesn't even mention prostate cancer, although it does mention blood cancers and melanoma and breast and lung and bladder and gastric. It doesn't mention prostate cancer.
Oh my God.
Okay, now one of the reasons why we'd like you to join online and not by phone, and we'll work with you to show you how to do it. It's not very hard. You've only got to click on a link, and on your computer, your phone, it'll all open up. Is because we're putting a lot of information into the chat window here, which you can't see on the telephone. But we'll also tell you how to get that information afterwards because we post it. But the bottom line is, and we've really got to move on, I'm afraid, because we've got a bunch of guys on this call, all of whom want a little bit of time. But the bottom line is that wait and see what he suggests, Dr. Rahman. He's definitely going to suggest something, most likely some pills, but we'll see. And then go and see Dr. Appelman as soon as you can. You tell them when you make the appointment, you've got metastatic prostate cancer and it's on the march. And then you'll come back to us. We meet every week and we'll help you. And you've got some...
Well, can I ask a question?
Of course.
Okay. So Thursday, do I go ahead and get the Lupron shot?
Yes.
Okay. And then the other question is, can you email me that name and that doctor's name and his number?
Well, I don't have his number, but the first thing is you've got to give us your email because we don't have that. We're clever.
Oh, okay.
Not that clever, Tony.
What's that?
I said we're clever, but we're not that clever. We don't have your email.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. You guys just got me like really, I don't know, man. Because I was always under the assumption, why are people telling me, oh, if your PSA is under 4, you're good to go? That can't be right.
Well, that's if you don't have prostate cancer. Tell us your email.
Okay, the email is no capital letters. It's kind of funny, so don't laugh.
Okay, promise.
Okay, it's I am. The letter is I am, not IAM. The letter I am dot Tony, Tony, Soprano at iCloud.com. I'm the boss, Tony Soprano at iCloud.com. But don't forget the period after the M. It's the letter I and the letter M, period. D-A, boss, B-O-S-S, Soprano, S-O-P-R-A-N-O, at iCloud.com.
Okay, let me read that back to you. I am dot the boss Tony Soprano at iCloud.com.
No, because you put a the in there. It's not I'm the boss. It's just the initial. It's all it is 2 letters first, I and an M. And,
yes.
And then it's a period.
Yes.
And then it's da, D-A.
Yeah.
No the. It's the way the old Italians talk. I'm the boss, Tony Soprano, Tony, Soprano, at iCloud.com.
Yeah, I got it. I'm the boss, Tony Soprano, at iCloud.com. We got plenty of you Fratellos on this call. You ain't the only one.
Wow. I didn't this is all new to me. I mean, this is a godsend that I even found out about you guys, because I could never figure out why this Terramana Cancer Center was never giving me like where I could get a support group or anything, and I've been with them for 2 years.
Okay, well, look, here's what I'd like to do. Jim, would you be willing to? Thanks. Okay. Why don't you, Jim Barnes, who is in your area? I don't know how far away, but Jim is in your area. Jim, Jim is recently diagnosed, also denovo, also metastatic from the start. He's been doing a huge amount of homework, and he'd be happy to give you a call. So give us your telephone number, and Jim will give you a call.
Oh, that'd be a godsend. Thank you. God bless you. Yeah, the telephone number is 304-559-9409.
Okay. Do you have?
And I'm in Shady Side, Ohio. Where is he located?
I don't know. Where are you located, Jim? You're muted.
I'm right in Pittsburgh, right north of Pittsburgh, a couple miles out of the city limits.
Okay.
So we're like an hour away. We're like an hour away from each other.
Oh yeah, that's a piece of cake. And I tell you what, man. I mean, not to put any pressure on him, but I tell you what, as soon as he can call me, man, I don't know. You guys got me all. I'm all freaking nervous wreck now, because I didn't even know this stuff. I wasn't even aware of all this stuff.
Look, given that this is so recent in the last 3 months, there's so much we can do to help you. And there's so much good medicine out there that we can probably bring this back under control, and the timing is good. So
yeah, can I ask you one more? Can I ask you just one last question?
Yes.
Well, they told me that with this type of cancer, I'm trying to say it right, prostate cancer, stage 4, that went to my bones.
Yeah.
They said that the survival rate of that is 31%. What the heck does that mean?
Well, I think they're talking about 5-year survival rate, I think. But
Oh, you're right. No, you're right. It was 5 years.
Okay. See, you give me half information here. We can guess those things, but we could never have guessed I'm the boss, Tony Soprano. We could never have guessed that. So we can guess some of this stuff.
Well, let me.
Look,
is there any other ways you know? Is there any way a man can feel if his prostate cancer is coming back other than a PSA test?
That's a big question, and if you listen to the rest of the call, you may get some information on that. But let's talk about that next week on Monday. Okay.
Can I ask my oncologist for a Gleason score? Because I have never got a Gleason score since I've been going to that Paramedic Cancer Center.
Well, they will only be able to get the Gleason score from the original biopsy, but yes, it should be in your record. And yes, it would be very helpful for us to know what that Gleason score was. But he will be able to tell you by looking at your medical records what your Gleason score was.
Will he also be able to say, if I ask, can I have my testosterone level, would he be able to tell me that?
Only if he does a blood test, and he should do one, because we want to make sure that the Lupron is working. That's the only way that we know that the Lupron is working.
Okay, so how did my PSA go from a 20 2 years ago down to a 0.0.2 just with the Lupron?
Yes, but you've got to come back on Monday. We've got to spend some time with the other guys now. Okay,
go ahead. Thank you very much.
And come back on Monday. We're going to put your email address into our database. You'll get a note about the call on Monday, and we will go from there. And in the meantime, you're going to speak to Jim Barnes. And I can tell you, Jim was a nervous wreck when we first started talking to us, and now he's solid as all heck. And he'll be a great support for you. All right?
Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. And you tell him whenever he wants to call me, believe me, I'm at his beck and call.
Okay. All right, guys. I'm going to do a roll call, and you need some time today. Whoa. Jake, anything new with you? Anything you want to talk about?
Not tonight, Rick. Thank you.
Okay. Peter, anything new with you or that you'd like to talk about?
No, nothing today.
Thanks. Tracy had to leave us. James Doyle, anything you'd like to raise tonight?
I've got a couple of questions I want to put out eventually.
Okay. Jim Ward, anything for you tonight?
Nothing for me tonight, Rick. Thanks.
Okay, Jim, we are going to start with the discussion on intermittent hormone therapy because we promised it to you and it deserves to be aired in the whole group. So that's where we're going to start tonight with the guys. Carl, anything for you tonight?
No, thanks.
Okay. Len, anything you'd like to raise?
Nothing, Rick.
Joe Blanchette, anything for you, sir?
No, thank you.
Okay. Dennis C, anything for you today?
No, thank you, Rick.
Okay. Herb, anything you'd like to bring up?
No, I'm good. Thanks, Rick.
Whoa, you guys are great tonight. Everybody's doing great. Lou, anything you'd like to talk about tonight? Lou? Your mic's green, Lou. Anything you'd like to talk about? Okay, we'll come back to Lou.
Thank you.
You're good. Okay, thanks. Dennis McGuire, anything for you?
Nothing tonight, Rick.
Nothing. Did you start your trial?
I did.
Okay, then there is something for you. You can at least tell us how that was starting your trial.
I will do that.
Okay. Rusty, anything for you?
Yeah, I got a 2-minute feel-good story.
Oh, okay. All right.
If there's time.
Jim Barnes, anything you'd like to talk about tonight?
I have a very quick update.
Okay, great. Ken Doyle, anything for you?
Yeah, just don't pay attention to Ken Doyle. Just look at James Doyle.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My computer logs me on both ways.
Okay, you fooled me again.
I get twice as much time.
How about Ken Anderson? You have something to talk about, I know. Mr. Anderson. Update, okay. Jerry Pelfrey, anything for you?
No, thank you. Not tonight.
Okay. John Ivory, anything for you?
1 minute non-urgent question.
Okay. Mark, Dr. Mark, anything for you?
Update and a quick question.
Okay. Larry Fish, anything for you? I see, I got you.
Oh my God. Yes, if I can. Nothing urgent if we have time at the end, but if it's going to 8:10, 8:15, I'll wait.
Okay, and Rich Jackson, anything for you?
The Eastern Front's quiet at the moment.
Good. We like quiet. Okay, let's start with, and I'm going to probably try and limit this to about 10 minutes because we could go on a long time. If we don't go through 10 minutes, even better. But Jim Ward has wanted to air the topic of intermittent hormone therapy. And I know that's something that Tony had on his mind too. And he's wanted to air it for at least 2 sessions. And I have never made the time for him and I feel totally guilty. So I'm going to allow Jim to phrase what he wants to know, and then we're going to open it up to people that have done some intermittent hormone therapy and get a discussion going. So Jim, why don't you address intermittent hormone therapy?
All right, thanks, Rick. I really appreciate it. You shouldn't feel guilty at all. There's a lot of different guys that I think maybe have more pressing issues and needs than intermittent hormone therapy. But in any event, I've done some of the pick and shovel work on this by chatting with Len offline and looking over some information that Len and Peter were kind enough to furnish to me. So I guess what I would pose to the guys in the group who have have done one are just a few basic questions. And I think what I've come to realize is just like prostate cancer itself, there's obviously not a one-size-fits-all treatment plan. And I suspect that when it comes to drug holidays or intermittent hormone therapy, it's likewise not a kind of a one-size-fit-all thing. But with that said, I'm targeting to start a drug holiday in January. And what I'd like to know is, for the guys that have done it, is when you, just before you started it, did you and your oncologist agree on any kind of protocol as far as, hey, when your PSA reaches a certain threshold, then we're going to put you back on ADT. And during the and in the meantime, as we're monitoring your PSA, we're also gonna monitor you differently, or maybe more frequently. I don't really pretend to know what the answer to that might be, if there is any kind of real protocol. Rick shared with me something that I know he's probably shared with many guys in this group, which was a UCSF pamphlet on ADT. And that one actually suggested that if, for those whose PSA was over 10 when they were first started on hormone therapy, then you would want to look at restarting it once your PSA reaches between 5 and 10. Mine was definitely over 10 when I began hormone therapy. That's as close as I've ever come to seeing any kind of benchmark. So those are really kind of basic questions. I know everybody's journey with intermittent hormone therapy, it can be very different. But to the extent there's anything that I can sort of latch on to as far as basic protocols, basic standards, that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Okay, who would like to, first of all, just with a show of hands, other than Peter and Len, has anyone else on this call done intermittent hormone therapy? Les and Dennis. And Les, sorry, and who's that? And Jake. Les, Dennis, and Jake. Okay, great. So we've got 5 guys that have direct experience with it. Who would like to kick off with input to Jim?
I've already sent Jim my records going back 6 years. This is Peter. It describes, I think I've gone on and off 3 times over those past 6 years. And I do blood, as you can see from the charts I sent you, I do blood tests every month. So I track my PSA very carefully. With the cooperation and understanding of my doc, Dr. Turner down in California. And the last couple of times that I've done it, what I look for is not the absolute number of my PSA, but the doubling time. The PSA is very low since I don't have a prostate anymore and I've gone through radiation and so forth. So the number is kind of what Tony was talking about, 0.0 whatever, it's undetectable. But then it starts doubling. And if it starts doubling within 3 months, under 3 months, that's a red flag for me that something's going on. And then I let it climb to about, I kind of go for about 1.0. And the reason I do that is that's the best number to get a really good PSA scan to find out where things are going. So I've gotten into 2 PMSA scans in the last several years, and that told me where the growth was, where the action was, and then I went back onto the ADT with a second line drug, after I knew where the cancer was. So, and then had usually treatment. One time I did radiation. This recent time I did chemo. But I've always gone back on ADT. So I'm very strongly considering, I meet with Dr. Turner on Skype in 2 weeks, and I'm very strongly considering going back on a holiday. The only caution now is that it's pretty hard to get a PSMA scan. It means I've got to fly to LA or something, and I'm scared to do that. I figure it'll be at least a year before my PSA climbs up enough. It takes about 4 months to get your testosterone back. And then, maybe I'll make it another 8 months or so, hopefully. And then I'll try to find another PSMA scan. And by that time, hopefully I'll be able to fly. So that's my strategy, I'm thinking. But I've got to shoot it down and say it's crazy, Peter, and then I'll reconsider.
Okay, so Peter, quick question. A quick question, Peter. So have you been getting your PSA tested every month, regardless of whether you're on a drug holiday or not, or is it just when you're on a drug holiday?
Well, you've got my chart there. It's pretty much every month. There's a couple of times I might have skipped a month, early on in 2014. It might not have been every month, but the last number of years, it's pretty much been every month.
Okay.
So I think the takeaway that I get from that, Jim, is don't focus so much on the absolute amount, but focus on the doubling time. Who else would like to add to this conversation?
Well, I'm just starting on this, Jim, and so I don't really have a whole lot to say other than I am just coming up on my 3-month schedule here for my Lupron shot, which I am not going to be getting. But that also coincides, obviously, with the lab blood work. So I've got that. I will find out tomorrow what my blood work is. I stopped taking the Abiraterone and the prednisone close to 2 months now, and I wean off the prednisone over a 6-week period. So I'll know more tomorrow, and I think we're just going to see how this goes. If we start to see anything, my PSA is less than 0.1. I don't have that highly detailed PSA laboratory analysis. So that's as low as it goes, the lab test that I have.
All right. So Dennis, a couple of quick questions just to flesh that out. So I think you stopped your hormone therapy about 2 months ago, at least the Abiraterone, and I assume your Lupron?
No, the Lupron is closer to 3 months.
Oh, okay.
Scheduled for that. I would have been scheduled tomorrow for my next Lupron shot, which I get every 3 months.
Okay, so 2 or 3 months ago, within the last 2 or 3 months, you stopped your Lupron and your Abiraterone, and you're weaning off your prednisone. But at that point in time, when you and your doctor said, "Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to commence this drug holiday," did you talk to your doctor about, as Peter mentioned and as Rick suggested, hey, we're going to watch the doubling time, and we're going to use this as a basic measuring stick for doubling time. If it doubles within 3 months, or did you guys ever sort of?
Oh, happy birthday!
No, we never really talked about.
Do anything fun tonight, or just taking it easy?
Something out in the future. My only schedule is right now for blood work every 3 months, and if we see something that's higher than where I've been at, I'm sure we'll start looking at it more frequently.
All right. Well, I appreciate you mentioning that you're off the prednisone, and you said over what period? 6 weeks? 6
weeks. Yeah, I was on 5 milligrams, and so we cut them in half and took a half of which would be 2.5 milligrams for 6 weeks.
Okay.
And I really didn't feel any different at all. I think everything probably has some residence time in your body, and so feeling wise, I still get the hot flashes. the fatigue and that type of stuff.
So Jim, it sounds to me like, Dennis. Dennis, it sounds to me like you're going to focus a little more on your absolute numbers rather than your doubling time. And then maybe the doubling time will come into play if you get nervous about your absolute numbers.
Yeah, we'll just look to see if it moves off the less than 0.1 level, then we'll have to focus on that.
Okay. Now,
So
anyone
you get testosterone checked as well every 3 months?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, my testosterone has been non-detect.
So it should come up within the next couple of months, hopefully.
Yeah, well, I'll get the results of my blood work tomorrow, which will include the PSA and the testosterone and all my metabolic panel and that type of stuff.
Can you feel the difference all right yet? Because I could feel it before I got the actual results. I knew something was on the move.
What was the question, Peter?
Can you feel the difference? Can you feel testosterone in your body? Can you feel the
No.
Not yet?
No, I don't. I'd be very surprised. Yeah,
Okay.
I hope so.
I want to move this along because we've still got a bunch of guys to get around. Les or Jake, did you want to add anything to, or is there anybody else with any questions about IHT before we move on?
I was just going to say that I've been on Lupron since July of 2012, and I asked the oncologist probably 6 months after my PSA was down to 0.6 consistently for a few months. I asked her for intermittent. She didn't think it would work. She was right. I was able to stay off of it for like 8 or 9 months, and my PSA started going back up. So it did not work for me, but I probably tried it too soon in hindsight.
And Jake, where was your PSA when you started that drug holiday? You may have just said it, but
yeah, it was 0.6.
Okay.
That's about 0.5 is the lowest it ever got, and it was 0.6 when I asked her. I had only had 3 Lupron shots at that point every 4 months.
I see.
And I was interested at that time. I wanted my testosterone to recover, and it did. The shorter the time you're on Lupron, the more quickly your testosterone will recover. And mine did indeed recover, but then so did my PSA.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I will be at 2 years come January, and I think I've been under less than 0.1, for about a year. So I'm kind of feeling like in my GU onc at MD Anderson, Dr. Korn seems to think it's time. So yeah, I really appreciate everybody kind of sharing their stories about, if there was a trigger or what you were kind of monitoring, taking a look at, try to determine, okay, it may be time to go back on these damn drugs.
Right. Yeah, it's worth a shot. Just keep track of the testosterone and your PSA in particular.
Okay, we got to move along here, and I'm going to go to Ken Anderson to get his update.
Can I ask you a quick question regarding the intermittent?
Go ahead.
I just want to know, is there a possibility that you ever get off the hormone therapy forever, or is the intermittent hormone therapy the only reprieve in the future?
It's a good question, and it's complicated. I think that for most men with advanced prostate cancer, some type of hormone therapy is always going to be part of their future, other than the times that they're on a holiday, which can be quite a long time. Like Len's had 2 years off at times, and so you can get it, but it does come back. Whether it always has to be Lupron or not, we're not sure. This actually gives me the perfect segue to mention to you guys that you should listen tomorrow to a webinar that Len and I are going to host, and we're going to be talking to Thomas Beer from Oregon Health and Science University, OHSU, and also Eleni Efstathiou from MD Anderson. It's at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Eastern. And I will put I'll put a link in the chat window so you can sign up. And one of the questions that we are going to try to ask if we've got time is whether they think that a monotherapy on one of the second-line anti-androgens like enzalutamide or abiraterone or darolutamide, whether you can maintain on that without being on Lupron, and if it's going to have an impact on your quality of life. Len, for example, has been just on darolutamide for how long, Len, now? 12 months?
12 months, no. Just darolutamide since August.
Since August, okay. So just darolutamide since August. That's it could be interesting, and I think that whatever happens, it will be a really good session tomorrow. And she's a crackerjack. If you haven't seen Eleni Efstathiou, she's a real crackerjack and very, very concerned with patient welfare. Kind of like Dr. Morgan's, but maybe a little more spicy. Would that be fair to say, guys? Len and Peter?
Yeah, that's conservatively speaking, yeah.
I did put the link in the chat box, Rick, to the blog.
Thank you. All right, let's go to Ken Anderson, and I think Jim, we probably didn't answer your question enough, but save it and we'll come back to it for another session. Okay. Ken, tell us what's going on, or tell the guys what's going on.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, an update on PSA. After 7 rounds of chemo, my PSA decided to take a jump from 23 to 32. So, waiting at the moment for a reply from Paul, and kind of to see where I go next.
Okay. What sort of feedback does anybody have for Ken on remembering that he was at 32, he was a lot higher, or a fair bit higher, and then got down to 23, and now he's back up to 32.
Can find drug is relevant to chemo? You're on Zytiga or something?
Yeah, at the moment I'm on Zytiga and Lupron.
Okay.
I gave Ken a little bit of feedback. One is that because it got depressed, it is possible that it could be a flare. We don't know, because the ALK phos was up as well, significantly. And when Ken sent me the chart, the ALK phos and the prostate and the PSA were really totally in step in step. So I think that one thing to consider is whether it's a flare. At the same time, you don't want to hang your hat on it being a flare. Ken asked me, if it was me, what would I do next? And I think there are several options out there, from changing the chemotherapy to some of the bispecific trials that are going on. The fact that it's not going to be long before the lutetium gets approved, I'm sure. But is there anybody who wants to chime in on what they might do if, in fact, they thought that the docetaxel was no longer helping?
Hey, Ken, it's Dennis. Sorry to hear that. Hopefully it is just a flare. When did you last have scans?
I had the normal CT MRI about 3-4 months ago. Didn't really show anything. My last, PET scan was at MD Anderson in September.
Oh, September. Okay.
Ken, have you tried another drug other than Zytiga? Have you done darolutamide or enzalutamide at all?
Yeah, Peter, I've done both.
Done
Well,
okay.
not darolutamide because I'm
Right.
metastatic, so.
Hmm.
Ken and I have discussed this too, and I told him what you guys told me a couple of months ago, that it might just be an anomaly, that it goes up sometimes, it goes back down. And but Rick, you had mentioned one time to me about re-challenging with enzalutamide. Do you think that might work for Ken? Of course, he's on Abiraterone, which is, you can't really re-challenge at this point, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned that to him too, to re-challenge with a second line anti-androgen. I don't know enough about whether Abiraterone also works when you re-challenge again, but I think that for me, I'm eager to learn what Paul Korn says, because he's such a great doc. And so I think that we're talking about some of the regular things, but there are other things that are out there right now that it may be the right time. Immunotherapy ideas, especially some of these bispecific trials. I mean, Ken, what's your thought? You're well versed in this, and if you had to do something next, and you had a free hand to do anything, what would you want to do?
I got to tell you, at the moment, I'm going to wait for Paul. His reply, we're going to have a virtual chat on Friday. So his exact reply, which I find somewhat difficult to take, but his exact reply was not terrible, but agree that if both PSA and ALK phosphatase is going up, it could be real, meaning real, probably docetaxel no longer works. In addition, he stated that I bet scans remain as good as they were in the past. If in fact we were to repeat them, but he's going to review the information that I sent him and have more to say on Friday when I chat with him. So until I do, I don't really have, of course I have some ideas, but I'm not the expert, so what the hell do I know?
Well, tell us what your ideas are. I mean, you are the expert in the sense that you do a lot of reading, and it's your disease. I mean, what are your ideas?
Well, my kind of questions to him are this combination of ipilimumab and nivolumab, and whether or not he'd also presented this Checkmate 650 trial for me in the beginning. In the very beginning of chemo, he had put that out as a possible trial. He said, of course, I could do cabazitaxel. He was hoping to use it later. The gene alterations is, of course, something that's sitting out there, and sequencing is a possibility, but You know, I'm not sure that there's anything that they can grab tissue from. My prostate's been radiated, so
They don't need to. You know, they can do it with blood now, and the blood is actually better than bone.
well, the last time I did a Foundation 1 scan, it really gave me nothing.
Yeah, but the point is, has anything changed since then? We know that. But the reason you're doing it again is to see if there's any change.
I
And when,
understand.
and the fact that you don't have anything they can grab is no longer an issue, because they feel that the liquid biopsy with blood is pretty much as good. It's better than a bone. It's better than a bone biopsy, and it may be as good as a soft tissue biopsy. So don't, you know, that option that you just mentioned to me about sequencing, don't put it out your head just because you don't feel that there's anything there that they can biopsy.
Hey, Ken, it's Dennis again. I picked up a point that Rick raised on the BITE technology, which I think is a T-cell technology. And Northwestern is a big supporter of that as an emerging technology. There is a trial going on in India, and I placed a call there, and they called me back within 2 days. So they are actively recruiting for those type of trials. They're
Well,
early stage. That's the one
right.
downside.
I've actually, the questions I have, Rick presented 3 possible trials. One is that regen trial, and an Zencor trial, and an Amgen trial. I'd also proposed the one that you're doing, Dennis, to Paul, and right now I'm formulating kind of a series of questions to put in front of Paul prior to our meeting, and those are on there. So, including the one you're
So the
referring to.
Amgen trial. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's the Amgen one.
It is.
Amgen 160.
Well, it's Amgen 509.
Oh,
Is that the
okay.
one? It's the BITE trial?
There are
Yeah.
2.
Okay. Yeah. The one that's Indianapolis is 160.
Yeah. There's 160 and 509. There's more than just those 3, but I only put one on there. But there are more that I am aware of. I think that 160 is more limited in where it's available, though.
Is the 560 more? Is that a later phase?
Don't know. It might be. I think it's a different drug, Dennis.
I see.
I think it's a different drug, and there are 2 separate trial numbers.
Well, why don't we I'll just report back on Monday after Paul gives me his 2 cents. I'm going to send this off to him tomorrow, so he'll have a chance to review it prior to our telechat on Friday.
Okay. And I'll either put them in the chat window, those numbers, or I'll send them to you, Dennis. They're in the email I sent to Ken, so I know where they are. Okay. So let's keep moving along. Let's talk to Jim Doyle. Jim, what's on your mind?
Okay. Let's start with the fact I'm oligometastatic. Anybody know of a support group?
Well, what do you mean, anybody know of a support group? What, you're talking about a physical one or another one like this?
Another one like this.
Well, we address oligometastatic disease. I mean, this group addresses everything from high risk to recurrent to advanced. So as oligometastatic, That's something we talk about quite often in here. I don't know of any other virtual advanced cancer support groups.
Okay.
Oh, I do. Sorry, cancer ABCs. Yes, somebody will stick that. One of you guys put Joel. We can put Joel's group in there. I think they meet once a month. But again, they're like us. They deal with the whole gamut of advanced disease.
Okay, I'll look up some info on them. Okay, with that, part of what I'm trying to get to is what's the prediction for 5, 10, 20-year survivability, given the fact that I've been 10 years since surgery. PSA is only at a 1, so it's taken 10 years to come up to a 1. And the discussion last time with you all was I might just keep doing what I'm doing is once every 3 months, get a PSA reading and keep an eye on it and keep doing my diet, exercise, and supplements.
Well, I mean, the first thing to really note, which is amazing, is that you haven't done any hormone therapy to this point in time. And, you know, God bless you. It's remarkable that you've gotten as far as you have. So to talk to you about what the predictions are, first of all, there are a lot of guys who don't hold a lot as far as predictions are concerned on this call. And I think they'll tell you that in a moment. And secondly, we haven't even tried you out on Lupron yet. So I think it's going to be very hard to answer that question. But why don't somebody, anybody, give Jim your 2 cents on what these predictions mean?
I'm similar to you. My PSA right now is 0.8. I was at 1 a couple of times after, before and after SBRT. I also have oligo. I only had 1 spot on the left iliac bone. I'm 9 years out and you're 10 years out, so we're similar in that respect. I assume you've had surgery, is that correct?
Right, I had the prostate removed.
Okay, and you had no radiation so far?
No, I intentionally stayed away from all secondary treatments.
Okay, same as I did. Okay, so now what's your PSA currently? 1?
1.
Okay, and do you know where your cancer is?
I had a PET scan a month and a half ago. I've got 2 hot spots in the prostate bed, very, very small size.
Was that a PSMA or an Axiom PET scan?
Axiom.
Okay, and so what is your, have you seen a radiation oncologist yet, or have you, what's your next step?
Saw the radiation oncologist for proton beam. He wanted to shoot the whole prostate area, and I said I'm not in for that. Unfortunately, I saw a wrong urologist, and that kind of got in the way of my plans with my insurance company. So I went back to Fleming, and Fleming's involved now, and he's the one who told me about oligo. So I'm getting ready to do genetic testing and see what those values are. Since it's been 10 years, I think I have time to make a decision, but I think I need to collect more information first.
Yeah, that's good thinking, I think.
Who's speaking right now?
Joel Blanchette.
Okay, all right, got it.
And I would recommend you see well, you're already seeing a radiation oncologist, but if he does SBRT, either with CyberKnife or with through beam, most likely he would use CyberKnife on you because where your cancer is seems to be close to moving parts. So he most likely CyberKnife would be most effective on you. But he could radiate those two spots, and that would only be like 1 or 3 or 5 days of radiation, which takes about 10 minutes each shot. So that would be real simple, and it's not painful, and it's and you get rid of that cancer, and then you could take another PSMA or excellent PET scan down the road if the PSA went back up, and so that's an option for you instead of going ADT. I have not gone ADT yet. If was your original PSA low or high?
Original PSA was something like a 9.
Okay.
With a Gleason 8 going in, and then after surgery, it was a Gleason 7.
All right. Was it a 3+4 or 4+3?
3+4.
Okay, same thing as me. So we're not in a very high risk category, even though we could develop into more serious advanced cancer. But you're right, you have time. I've just given you one option, but that's what I would recommend because I went through it, but it doesn't mean that that's the only option.
Yeah, and I realize that CyberKnife was originally my background. You sound like I pressed Hampton proton beam on whether they could do pencil beam radiation, and they finally said they could.
Okay, so yeah, according to my radiation oncologist, I asked him that exact same question. Could you do proton beam? He says that's not the best radiation for you. Best radiation is SBRT, where we can apply a high dose of radiation to a small spot and get rid of it right away, as opposed to having you come with SBRT and do it for 40 times, and it's not going to do any better. And I think there's been some clinical trials now that have proven that SBRT does a great job without having.
Mike Scott just reported on a trial that SBRT works as well as IMRT for bone metastasis for spot radiation. I do want to keep going because we've only got about 20 minutes left. Anybody else have any thoughts for Ken Doyle? Yes, go ahead, Mark Perloe.
Well, in terms of that radiation, depending upon the map on the original treatment, I think the MRI combined SBRT, which is 5 treatments, you may benefit from abscopal effect by treating the prostate. I think we had someone earlier who hadn't had bone mets, but didn't have the prostate treated. There may be benefit, and there are reports where distal lesions have shrunk 50% after you treat the primary tumor. I would strongly advise, if it's available nearby, to look at the ViewRay SBRT program, which uses an MRI, which is constantly adjusting for things like breathing or any movement due to gas in the bowel, and is far safer. Taking one CT scan prior to doing the radiation in any given day really doesn't provide the small boundaries between the areas that you don't want to treat and the areas you want to treat that you would get with MRI monitoring.
Yeah, and that, it was Tony Kalapreski when we were speaking earlier on, and we didn't even raise it with him, but I mean, there is a whole new philosophy in treating metastatic prostate cancer, that we do treat the prostate today, either with surgery or probably better still with radiation. And so that whole subject is out there, and another day we'll come back and talk about it, because there are several men even here today who have gone through that procedure. All right, anything else really pressing for Jim? Or yes, go ahead, Len.
Yeah, just very quick. If I understood you correctly, Jim, you only have 2 spots in your prostate bed.
Correct.
That is not oligometastatic. That's just a local recurrence. You
I
just
just,
should not be considered oligometastatic. Just, it's a technical point, I suppose, but
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Len's right. It's if you're not showing anything in your lymph nodes, if you're not showing anything in your bones, you're not even oligometastatic. You just have, that still would be considered a local recurrent stage 3.
Okay.
And you could challenge.
I think the reason he described it that way was because the treatment plan allows you to just radiate it without any Lupron or any of the secondary treatment options.
Well, but that's it doesn't allow you. I mean, that's a choice for you. In the sense that you can radiate it with Lupron or you can radiate it without Lupron. If it were me, I'd do it with Lupron because the trials will say it's more effective. But if you're really opposed to doing any hormone therapy, then you don't have to do it. But you know,
I tell you what, I've got a lot more here that I have plenty of time to cover. Move on to somebody else. I'll come back on another meeting.
Okay, that'd be.
Thank you.
Jim, how do you know that you haven't had those spots for years? You just found them with the accident scan. I mean, they might have been there for 5 years.
I can't answer that other than the fact that I've had CT and bone scan, which I realize are very poor imaging techniques, and I just had to wait until finally I could get a PET scan.
Yeah,
So yeah, you're right. They could have been there all along.
I think you're in pretty darn good shape. Most of us were incredibly trained physicians.
I'm not trading it with anyone.
I know.
Okay, we're gonna move on. Dennis, just tell us quickly how you're, Dennis McGuire, just tell us quickly how you're doing with, and how long you've been on this corticosteroid and Xtandi, and how they're treating you, and what your experience is in a phase 1 trial. The reason I'm is because
so I've been on the trial. I've been on the trial for 1 week. I take 6 tablets every evening after dinner. I went in today for blood tests, and all my blood tests are solid, where they need to be. They're in the same place they were before I started the med. They're not going to test my PSA until 4 weeks in. I definitely know I'm on the new medication. I do have some fatigue, and so.
Okay, we're getting a little feedback from Peter, so I'm just, sorry, I know it interrupted you, so I'm just trying to, somebody, we got it, he's done. Somebody
I apologize, I muted Dennis by mistake.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Dennis.
Oh yeah, I forgot to announce, we have a new king of audio appointed in the last week. Jake is now the official muter. Okay, we have appointed him to monitor all background noise. We've totally empowered him. Len and Peter and I have totally empowered him to mute whoever he wants, whenever he wants, as required.
Even if I mute the wrong guy.
Even if he mutes the wrong guy. Right.
Even Donald Trump.
No politics.
We told him to be ruthless.
Right. I have to make sure I mention that in the summary that Jake is now the official muter. Are you you feel like you are feeling the steroids? You were never on Abiraterone, right, Dennis?
I was never on that, correct. Yeah, so I definitely know I'm on another medication. I can feel it, and my experience with starting new drugs, it takes a while for the body to adjust. So we'll see. Too early to tell. It's 1 week.
Okay. All right. Any preliminary questions for Dennis about this phase 1 trial?
Just
Okay.
good luck. It's a very interesting trial. We're all eager to hear how you do.
And hoping you do the best.
Thank you.
Okay. And I think 2 people I never checked in with. Forgive me, Sylvester, I never checked in with you. Anything special today?
No, thank you very much.
And
I'm learning today. Thank you.
You're learning. And John A., I don't think I checked in with you, did I?
No, because I was late, and I'm good for today. Don't need any time.
Okay, okay. All right, we're gonna go to Jim Barnes next, who has 2 quick questions.
I don't have any questions. I was just going to give you a quick update that.
Okay.
Today can you hear me?
Yes, fine.
Good. So I just today was my second SBRT treatment. So that was my big news of the day. That was at 7:45 this morning, and it's really uneventful. The most stressful part is traffic or finding a parking spot getting into the hospital. So other than that, at the end of the week, I start the second line enzalutamide Xandy.
Okay. And are you walking after, are you doing a little exercise every day after these treatments?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Today I was a little more confined in the office, but I have been trying to do that.
Okay. Just checking. Just checking.
Good.
So I mean, I think most of you guys know that these treatments, these radiation treatments, you really don't even know they're happening other than you're sitting on a table with whirring things running around you and goodness knows what, or you're in a tunnel or what, depending on what you're getting. But we always try to encourage you to exercise after them because it does, especially the sort of treatment that Jim is getting where it's first to the gland and then he'll get it to these spots. It can impact your bone marrow and it can make you kind of tired. So the exercise does help. And that's a perfect, anything else, Jim?
That's it.
That's it. Well, that's a perfect segue into Rusty, who was good about exercising when he was doing his radiation therapy. Rusty, what's up?
Quick feel-good story. I'm pretty much everyone here knows me, but after second go-round now, 9 months of radiation, ADT, and I'm a high school football official. So my goal this year was to work at least 1 game. And I started out last week by doing the chains in a game. 2 weeks before that, I couldn't have even stood up long enough to get through a game. And now that the Lupron and Casodex is wearing out, Casodex, I'm getting stronger and better. So I worked a real JV game yesterday, and then today I was asked to do a Division I quarterfinal varsity game, and I haven't worked a varsity game all year. So apparently I did okay yesterday, and now, a dream that was not even comprehensible just a few weeks ago, I'm now strong enough and able to work a state high school Division I quarterfinal this coming Saturday. So yeah, there is hope. Not sure I'm done with anything, but I'm just glad I hit my goal and exceeded it now, and just happy that the association in New Hampshire overlooked the fact that I didn't work a full varsity game, but still had the qualification to be given the honor of being asked to do a varsity playoff game. So that was it.
It's great.
You need good news every once in a while.
Listen. Last week I gave you a shout out in the summary. You probably don't even read those summaries.
I do too.
Oh, do you? Well, I can't give you a shout out every week, you know.
That's okay.
All right. If we change sports, so we can reconsider. You know, when you come in and tell me you did your first baseball game, that's a newsworthy event.
Well, that would be springtime, but no baseball games this year. There's no way I could have done them, but just happy to have set a goal, met that goal, set another one, met that one, and then had a dream of getting a playoff game, which I knew was not realistic, but it ended up being true. So there are upsides to this.
Okay. Well, I think we're all really happy for you. I know we are. We are. It's great. It's great news, Rusty. Okay, Dr. Mark, what's on your mind today?
So I have some good news too. After starting this process, making a mistake doing TULSA-PRO rather than the PET scan first, 3 months afterwards, I did the PET scan and found involvement in the seminal vesicle. And I went to UCLA, had SBRT with ViewRay, which is MRI monitoring. We had no traffic due to COVID. We had no problems parking. There was actually free parking across the street. And the only trouble was not waking the kid up when I did the fleets early in the morning before heading out to the procedure. But the first, I guess 2 weeks or 3 weeks out now, I developed a relationship with Abby, and she and I are getting on fairly. I don't know if that will be a long-term relationship or that will end in divorce. Continuing triptorelin, my testosterone, they said, we have no idea if you ever had any testosterone. We certainly can't measure it. And the PSA is 0.017. Initially, I started at 4. So I'm real happy with that. And I'm going to be seeing Dr. Turner on November 6th. Ken, if you're there at the same time, let's say hi. But want to see if anybody has any thoughts or questions I should ask at this stage.
Right now, so you're 3 weeks out from your salvage. You're handling the Abiraterone pretty well with the prednisone. And your PSA is low. What questions would any of you be asking your doc at that point in time? We got 23 of you on here, 22 excluding Dr. Mark. Nobody got a question?
What was the primary therapy? Was it
TULSA-PRO.
TULSA-PRO.
Oh, TULSA-PRO, which is kind of like a focal therapy, right?
Well, it was the whole gland was ablated. After that, the PSA was down to 0.3.
What was your original? What was your original Gleason?
4+3 with cribriform pattern. It was only one core, but 80% of the core was positive.
Okay, so you were 4+3, because I don't even have these notes. One core, and what was the highest your PSA got to?
4.
4. So it was never that high.
No. So one med onc says 5% recurrence rate. One says 85% recurrence rate in 5 years.
Yeah. I think we know who the 5% might be. Any questions that come to mind? I mean, you're doing the right things. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you took off on the wrong foot. I think, you know, I don't know enough about TULSA-PRO. I know Larry Klotz did a whole seminar on it for PCRI last weekend or 2 weekends ago. I just don't know. I don't know enough about TULSA-PRO, but I think your recovery strategy is good. I mean, submitting yourself to at least 6 months of really strong hormone therapy and seeing where you go. Probably the right things. Before you did the SBRT, the Varian.
ViewRay.
ViewRay, sorry. Before you did the ViewRay, where did the PSMA scan see your cancer?
In the seminal vesicle, all the way out at the end. The problem was they had no idea whether this was direct extension or metastatic. They're leaning towards it being direct extension, but with the treatment of the prostate, they have no way of knowing that because the prostate was less than a tenth. It was about 4 cc's after the Tulsa Pro. So they couldn't decide which it was, and they felt that metastatic versus extension was a big difference in predictive outcomes.
Okay. Well, so in other words, what you're saying is that it's not clear that your disease was metastatic. It could always be T3. Could have just been T3 disease.
That's what most of the people have been saying.
Right, and I was a T3 guy, and I did a lot of treatment up front, and knock on wood, I've held there. So there is hope. Especially if you can do it with 6 months on hormone therapy versus 28 months, that's even better.
Well, they're saying follow on a monthly basis. At first, because of the Zytiga, I'm doing blood testing every 2 weeks with monthly PSAs, high sensitivity to follow along. But I hope at 6 months I'll be able to divorce Abby. She just really wants to own me. And it's going to be at least another 6 to 8 weeks before the Peloton arrives. So we've been doing bands and walking, and I've got another exercise bike or a regular bike that I put on a stand. But when I exercise, I feel great. If I skip a day, the next day, it's like, do I really want to get out of bed? So, I appreciate you talking about that because it really does make a difference.
Yeah, it does. All right. Well, anyone else want to say anything to Dr. Mark before we move on? I have 2 people who have yet to speak. John Ivory, who says we can hold until next week, and Larry Fish, who said wait till the end. It's only 2 minutes past 5. I'm happy for either of you to take time if you would like it.
Well, I think I'll only take a few minutes.
Go ahead, Mr. Fish.
Just a general update, which you haven't got for a long time.
No.
Is that my PSA is like whatever you call that. I had a Fibonacci series, kind of where it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up a little more, it goes up a little more, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it stays up a little more. We do a scan, there's nothing, it goes down, and this has been going on for a number of years. Right now, it's at 0.47. That was today, earlier. Just got the results, and it was at 0.46 or 0.47 12 weeks ago, 6 months ago, and then it came back down to 3.2, and now it went up to 4.47 again. We went for scans, the technician, the bone scan, and an MRI, which is the combo that we usually use, and nothing exactly turned up, and we did this with my doctor's awareness of the method to be able to add darolutamide even if you can not show metastasis. But then it came down again, so we didn't move forward. But it's been creeping up, and here we are again with it going up again. And so far, Dr. Audio at Sloan, she's not willing to consider the thought of darolutamide as a monotherapy. She wants to add it, and then that would be, and then see. So I could do that and hold that for a little bit, and then when I'm ready to move or try to do a holiday from Lupron, I would discuss it with her, and maybe I'd have to look elsewhere. I hope not. We really can talk to each other, like thoroughly. Just to update, another update is that Sloan is basically out of Lupron. They were supposed to switch me today to Eligard because I'm on 3 months, but I was able to get a hold of a 4-month Lupron shot. I don't know if they have any 6-month left. They had bought a gigantic, large amount in bulk, and they've not been able to re-up. And this has been going on for about 6 months or 9 months. I don't know if anybody else has faced this. And they tell you that Eligard is basically the same formulation, but I always wonder if the mix is a little different or side effects are a little different. That's what I was curious about. Anybody notice a difference between Eligard and Lupron?
So I'll get to your question. I just want to say that, you know, when you're fluctuating within that range, if she's willing to put you on the darolutamide right now, you've just been on an LHRH for quite a long time, right? Have you ever done a second-line anti-androgen?
No, and we're talking about going right to darolutamide.
So,
and skipping the others.
Yeah, I mean, which is fine, but I'm sort of wondering why you feel. I mean, the bigger question is, when do you intervene with that second-line anti-androgen at 0.47? If you're fluctuating between 0.2 and 0.5 or 0.25 and 0.5, when do you intervene? When have other guys decided they should intervene? Should they wait a little later? And then the second question that I want to ask is, we're well aware that there's a shortage of Lupron, and we've had guys shifted from Lupron to Eligard. I can't remember who off the top of my head, but it may be somebody on this call. Is there anybody who's had experience in shifting their LHRH drug?
Yeah, I have, Rick. And it's absolutely no difference, Larry. This is Len.
Yeah, sure. I can see you, hear you.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, absolutely no difference. I prefer Lupron because the injection into your butt or your arm, I guess, if you like, in my personal case, I didn't even feel anything. With the Eligard, it goes into your sub-Q abdomen, and it leaves a little bit of a lump for a while. Takes a while. It takes maybe a month or so to go away. But as far as the effects on your body, absolutely no difference. It's the exact same drug, leuprolide acetate, just a different formulation.
Right. And Rick, to your question, that we've been basically waiting to see 3 consecutive rises before going through the insurance and trying to switch for the next androgen, which is the beginning of a definition, which is the definition of
right.
Resistant hormone resistance. So it just keeps coming down, and like, okay, let's wait one more time, and that's been going on for years. So we're right on the edge. I've been on the edge this whole time, and we could put in an argument to start darolutamide now. We'll speak about that, but right now it looks like another 8 weeks before we're going to come to a thought about that.
If you're going to start an androgen blocker, then darolutamide would be the one I would certainly choose. And I say, based on Len's experience, on Peter's experience, and hearing it from other fellas, So that's a good drug. I mean, you've got to decide whether you would want to do abiraterone first or androgen blocker first, and in the abiraterone versus enzalutamide stakes, abiraterone comes out ahead. While it may come out ahead in terms of survival or radiation progressive-free survival, it certainly doesn't come out ahead in the quality of life stakes. That's for sure. So, you know, I think that's the choice you understand and you can make. When you actually intervene, you know, the other thing is 3 successive rises, you can get Provenge. You're not going to be able to get it at Sloan because they don't give it.
Right.
But you're eligible to get it, and you go to another doc and you could ask for it. And, you know, I do think Provenge is worthwhile.
I agree Provenge is worthwhile, but I don't want to use my marker. I'm looking at clinical trials, and sometimes if you've done Provenge, you can't really get into the next immunotherapy trial because they're not sure what Provenge did or didn't do. It complicates their initial research, and I need to feel I needed to pull that yet. Dr. Audi said she helped me find a place that does do it.
I mean, I haven't seen exclusion for Provenge in too many of the immunotherapy trials. I mean, Ken's gone now, and Dennis McGuire. I mean, Dennis, have you seen Provenge as an exclusion on the immunotherapy trials or anybody else?
I think it's the exception. Very few of them have that in there.
Yeah, I haven't noticed it. And John Ivory shaking his head too. So, you know, I think what I might do is just spend half an hour on clinicaltrials.gov and take a look at some of the trials, some of the BITE trials that are going on right now, and just see how many of them have Provenge as an exclusion. I think you'll find it's less than you might think.
Yeah, no, possible, but very often you have to actually like apply and go through details. They may not list that as an exclusion specifically.
Oh no, they would list it as an exclusion if it was.
All right.
They would. It would be there in clinicaltrials.gov.
But they usually say like not a previous immunotherapy drug. They don't actually like say prevent. I don't see like specifically prevent. But anyway, thank you, Rick. I certainly think about it. You know, I love my doc, and she just says she's not a big fan of Provenge. That may be because she's a Sloan person.
All right. Well, I'm not a Sloan person, and I do like Provenge, and I like the fact that it's getting even better results as we see it over time. So if it were me, I'd do it, and that's the most I can say. Well, there is more than I can say. I can say we got to go because now we're 12 minutes over, and we'll be back next week as always on Monday. And don't forget, we're going to try.
Rick, this is Tony. Can I ask one last question before you leave?
Yeah, you. Let me just say goodbye to everybody, and then I'll stay on with you. How's that?
Okay, thank you. And I want to thank everybody, and God bless all you people. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and good luck to all of you. You will be in my prayers.
Thank you.
Hey Rick, I wanted to mention just one thing. Triptorelin is also available. It comes in a 1, 3, and 6 month dose. The action is a little bit different. It's not a version of Lupron, but I had no problem getting that through, and the doctor carried it rather than the Lupron, which I had to get from a pharmacy.
Okay, is that Trelstar? That's Trelstar? Yeah. So Yeah, so there you go, guys. So Trelstar's another option. All right, don't forget next week we are starting with the PCF patient-centric synopsis. PCF for dummies, we're calling it. Okay?
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks, Rick. Good luck with questions and answers.
Okay, yeah. Tune in tomorrow to hear us with Dr. E and Tom and Dr. Beer. Okay, Tony.
Don't forget to change your clocks next Sunday.
Oh yeah, good point.
And
For
maybe
those who have to do it.
and clean your clock while you're at it.
I like that. Peter and me, we never clean our clocks because we never have to move them. But that's okay.
Good night, guys.
Tony, go ahead.
Yeah.
You got
okay. Okay. This is. Well, go ahead. Whoever wants to go before me, go ahead.
No. Everyone else has gone home. Oh my goodness! I've got my MS moderators coming in right now for the end of the.
Okay. What was that? What was that?
I'm leaving.
You stay, Frank.
Okay.
What was that doctor's name from Hillman in Pittsburgh? Doctor. I can't remember the name. Claypool.
Claypool.
Appleman.
No. The doctor that specializes in advanced prostate cancer.
Appleman. Yeah, Appleman.
Okay, got it. Then the other question is, would my oncologist at the Intermittent Cancer Center, Dr. Rahman, would I have to get a referral from him to see this oncologist in Pittsburgh?
Usually not. Usually you can just call straight in there and make an appointment. And
okay, then the other thing I want to say.
Hold on, Tony. If you needed a referral, get it from your PC that way. But it's not a bad idea, and I often tell guys, go ahead and let them know you're going for a second opinion. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, but the only
one at a time.
The only other thing I wanted to ask is when they start you on Lupron,
yeah,
are you supposed to take the Casedex clear as long as you're on the Lupron, or do you quit with the Casedex?
Okay, so most of the time they only put you on the Casedex bicalutamide for between 15 and 30 days. But there are some doctors who believe that you should stay on it, and we've got a couple of guys who have stayed on it, but that's not something I would do. But in your particular case where you had de novo metastatic disease, meaning you were diagnosed metastatic, they probably should have put you on a second drug, but they never did. And that drug would have been a stronger drug than Abiraterone. I think Jim Barnes is on Casedex plus Lupron. I think. If it were me, I would want to be on Abiraterone or enzalutamide or one of the other IDES plus Lupron.
Well, and then the other thing I wanted to ask, what part of where are you located at? What part of the country are you in?
Well, everybody's in different places because we're virtual. I live in deep southern Arizona, but Peter's in Maui.
Okay.
Everybody's in.
Well, the thing I was going to tell you is, there was a very famous prostate cancer doctor in Wheeling, West Virginia, at the Schiffman Cancer Center. His name was Dr. Merrick. I mean, he's supposed to be world renowned, but the point I was trying to make is this here: did I hear that one gentleman say that he's been on Lupron since 2012?
Oh, people have been on much longer. I've got to close the meeting right now, Tony. I've now got.
Can I just mention one thing to Tony quickly? If you call Appleman's office, they're going to want your records. So if you have your records, that's good. If not, they're going to have to get them from Ohio, from that doc's office.
What was that now? What did you just say?
If you go to Appleman for a second opinion, his office is going to want your records. So the Ohio office is going to have to send your records over unless you've got copies of everything.
Okay. And basically what you're saying is, being that I've been on this Lupron for freaking 2 years, getting the shot every 3 months, and now my PSA is a...
Tony, I got to cut you off. The room is being used. I've got another meeting starting in here. We'll talk to you on Monday, but take Peter's advice. Make sure you start or ask Terramana for all your records. Start that process right away, okay?
Okay, well, you got my phone number, right?
Yeah, yes. We have a phone number for you, yes.
Okay, well, I'll do that Thursday. I'll get my records, but you would definitely take the Lupron shot that day?
Yes, I would, because you're going to need it anyway.
Yeah, and then ask him about the testosterone level and the glee.
Gotta go. Sorry, man. Just gotta go.
All right. God bless. Thank you.
Okay. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. God bless.
Pleasure. Frank, I've got to shut the meeting and restart it. I just realized because we're recording.
Go ahead.
Okay, so come back in about 2 minutes, okay?
All right. Oh my God. Bye, Rick.
Bye. Goodbye.
You're a saint.
No, just a Meshuggah, not a saint. Okay. Close meeting. And meeting.